Alright, so I thought I'd say a quick word on the Malaysian Grand Prix today. It was an incredibly awesome race. The start for me was probably, the start and the finish were probably the best. The Vettel was on pole, and then Hamilton was second. And so they go down, as they're coming up to the grid to form up for the start, come on the radio with Mark Webber, who started third. And his engineer says, "Mark, we can see the problem, but we can't do anything to fix it." That problem ended up being his KERS system. Apparently they had to switch out the battery pack last night, and even that didn't fix the problem. So I guess they thought they fixed it. Go to the grid, forming up, he's got no KERS, so that 80 horsepower boost off the line that nearly everybody else around him was going to get, he was not going to get. So it was no surprise that he got, pounced on into the first corner. But what was surprising was the two Renaults, Petrov and Heidfeld. Actually, it was more Heidfeld than Petrov. Heidfeld just stormed down the outside to turn one and ended up nabbing second place. He didn't end up finishing in second place, but it was a great start from the Renault cars. It was great. I like both of the Lotus teams, Lotus Renault and Lotus Racing or whatever the other one is. So anyways, great job there at the start. There wasn't really that much, there was a bunch of midfield action. Webber got caught up with Kobayashi, and for those of you who don't know, Kamui Kobayashi is like the master of passing in Formula One. If there is somebody who's going to send a car up the inside, or if there's a move to make, Kamui Kobayashi is going to make it. He's that great. He will dive late into corners. He's just awesome. But it was really funny because Mark Webber had the faster car as long as they weren't on a straightaway. And Kamui Kobayashi was using his KERS, so they were kind of going back and forth for a while. That was really fun to watch. And Rubens Barrichello ended up with a puncture on one of the first laps, but he ended up he noticed the puncture right as he passed the pit lane entrance, so he had to go an entire lap around the Sepang circuit till he could pit. So that put him way far behind. He ended up retiring. He may have just decided, this is too much work he wasn't going to land any points or anything. He was 2 or 3 laps down. So, but yeah, it was fun. It was really exciting, and basically what you had was a bunch of different strategies. Some of them were 2 stopping, some 3 stops, some 4 stops. Depending on the tires, you keep hearing messages from people that, the tires were falling off, they need to come in for new tires, and then engineers would get on the radio and say, hey, we need to make these last, for 5 more laps at least. And it never rained. It sprinkled enough that you could see it on the camera lens, and a couple people maybe slid off the track a little bit, or had a loss of traction during braking because of a little bit of wetness, but it was never an intermediate tire situation, much less full wet. But very good race. I was very pleased. Ended up that, spoiler alert, in case you haven't watched it already, Vettel ended up winning. Button came back and nabbed second place, and Nick Heidfeld was third. So that's 2 podium finishes for Lotus Renault, the old Renault team. So it was Petrov in Australia, and this weekend it was Heidfeld. So congrats to Quick Nick. He did a really good job. I was very impressed by his driving. Mark Webber started to catch him there at the end, so it looked like it was going to possibly get interesting. But it did there for lap 54, 55 to 56. It looked, Mark was having a bit of a go, but Nick Heidfeld kept him behind and ended up grabbing third. So great job for Renault. And the other Lotus team, the Lotus team, the green team. They did pretty well too. Truly ended up retiring. There was a bit of a scrap between Hamilton and Alonso. They ended up both getting penalized 20 seconds. Hamilton apparently moved twice on this, lap X. I don't remember which lap number it was. So you're only allowed to move once to block. Well, not to block is the wrong term, because if you intentionally block, they'll usually give you a drive-through penalty. You're allowed to move once to defend, would be, I guess, the correct terminology. And he moved twice. So he ended up getting a 20-second penalty, just added to his overall race time. And Alonso got a 20-second penalty for, they were coming out of a corner. I can't remember what number it was. I want to say it was 3 or 4. And Alonso just got in the dirty air of Hamilton and tried to, slingshot his car around, and he was moving too fast, ended up clipping Hamilton's right rear. It broke off the left side of Alonso's whole front wing. He had to come in for a new nose, and Hamilton suffered some damage to the under tray, but his tire didn't puncture, so that was good. A lot of times when wing meets tire, you'll see punctures, but no such puncture. He just had some, a little bit of downforce reduction, but otherwise it was good. I'm very much looking forward to China, which is next weekend, actually. So, yeah, it was a great race.